The Internet, in the year 2009. We send emails, make calls over the Internet, and discuss topics we take an interest in. Even our banking is going virtual. But what we take for granted today was only a vague idea 50 years ago. In order to understand how we got this far, let's go back to 1957, when everything began. Before 1957, computers only worked on one task at a time. This is called batch processing. Of course, this was quite ineffective. With computers getting bigger and bigger, they had to be stored in special cooled rooms. But then the developers couldn't work directly on the computers anymore. Specialists had to be called in to connect them. Programming at that time meant a lot of manual work, and the indirect connection to the computers led to a lot of bugs, wasting time and fraying the developers' nerves. The year 1957 marked a big change. A remote connection had to be installed so that the developers could work directly on the computers. At the same time, the idea of time sharing came up. This is the first concept in computer technology, to share the processing power of one computer with multiple users. At that time, knowledge was only transferred by people. The DARPA planned a large-scale computer network in order to accelerate knowledge transfer and avoid the doubling up of already existing research. This network would become the ARPANET. Furthermore, 3 other concepts were to be developed, which are fundamental for the history of the Internet. The concept of a military network by the RAND Corporation in America. The commercial network of the National Physical Laboratory in England, and the scientific network Cyclades in France. The scientific, military, and commercial approaches of these concepts are the foundations for our modern Internet.
Today, over 2 billion people use the Internet, but not all Internet users are networked equally. Many governments worldwide are locked in a fight with their citizens over Internet access. In April 2011, Freedom House published a report ranking Internet freedom across 37 countries. Countries were categorized as free, partly free, or not free on a scale of 0 to 100, with 100 being least free. Of the list of 37, a total of 11 countries were designated not free. Scoring was based on 3 categories: obstacles to access, limits to content, and violation of user rights. The worst scoring country overall was Iran. In March 2009, Iran, with a population of 73.2 million, only had around 560,000 broadband subscribers. Most private households have 56K connections. In June 2009, Iranians took to the streets in protest of presidential election results. Protesters relied heavily on the Internet to draw international attention to their cause. Ayatollah Khomeini has referred to this intersection of protesters, Internet users, and international media as the soft war. The Iranian government has committed $500 million over the next year to fighting the soft war and considers it the top priority of the regime today. Perhaps with good reason. The Arab Spring revolutions that swept the Middle East in 2011 were facilitated by extensive social media use among protesters. For example, during the Egyptian and Tunisian protests, a majority of Facebook users in those countries believed that the social networking site was being used primarily for protest-related reasons. With social media proving to be such a powerful revolutionary tool, it's no wonder that the Iranian government has announced a plan to unplug the entire country from the Internet within the next 2 years, or that the Syrian government did just that on June 3, 2011, as 50,000 protesters filled the streets. But the war is not one-sided. In defense of Internet freedom, hacker group Anonymous has taken down government websites across the world and recently claimed to have stolen 1,000 Iranian government emails. By 2011, the U.S. government will have spent $70 million on technologies that help Internet users overseas circumvent government controls. This includes $2 million toward a project called Internet in a Suitcase, which allows information to bypass state-controlled systems using mesh networks. Such technologies can be powerful weapons against governments that deploy dual internet structures. Cuba essentially has two internets, one that connects to the outside world for tourists and government officials, and another for Cubans that is closed and monitored. In North Korea, only about 1,000 individuals have direct access to the internet. The rest of the population has access to filtered content on a national intranet called Kwangmyong. Burma recently launched an intranet-like web portal that aims to wean the public off popular websites using Burmese alternatives, including a Gmail replacement called Ymail. With all this considered, it's hard to dispute that the war for internet access is well underway, even if the battle lines are impossible to draw.
I had heard of Twitter. I was not familiar with it, but I knew that it was out there. I knew that it was a way that you could use both computer website and text messaging to post comments. I started to think about how I might be able to incorporate this into the actual classroom setting in my big group of 90 students as a way to pull more students into a class discussion that I ordinarily wouldn't be able to do in 50 minutes with that many people.
It's been really exciting because usually in classes like this you'll have 3 people that talk about the discussion material, and so to actually have 30 or 40 people at a time talking about it is really interesting, and then I can go back through the weekend and send them direct messages and ask them to probe kind of further and really think about the material that they've been reading.
I'm Brooke Alvarez. Let's get right to our top story tonight. Congress today reauthorized funding for Facebook, the massive online surveillance program run by the CIA. According to Department of Homeland Security reports, Facebook has replaced almost every other CIA information gathering program since it was launched in 2004.
After years of secretly monitoring the public, we were astounded so many people would willingly publicize where they live, their religious and political views, an alphabetized list of all their friends' personal email addresses, phone numbers, hundreds of photos of themselves, and even status updates about what they were doing moment to moment. It is truly a dream come true for the CIA.
Much of the credit belongs to CIA agent Mark Zuckerberg, who runs the day-to-day Facebook operation for the agency. The decorated agent, codenamed the Overlord, was recently awarded the prestigious Medal of Intelligence Commendation for his work with the Facebook program, which he has called, quote, the single most powerful tool for population control ever created.
You'd be forgiven for thinking this was just a table. But it is actually what software giant Microsoft sees as the future of social media. From interactive walls in your house to computers that track your movement, Microsoft has been showcasing ideas for the future of social media, drawing lots of interest. This is known as light space.
You touch this and then you touch this, you now have this sort of automatic transfer. It's almost as if my body is a conduit for information.
This is what your bedroom might look like in 10 years' time. Microsoft already has similar interactive technology out there with the Kinect system for the Xbox, but their vision for the future is much grander. This video shows the Magic Window, which will essentially be a fully interactive version of Skype, allowing people halfway around the world to feel like they are talking face to face. These gadgets are still only concepts, but you could soon find yourself using your bedroom wall as your Facebook wall.